according to the international law and following to the UN chapters, we have such kind of terrible disaster. We are getting, Ukrainian cities are getting quite a lot of damages because of every day Russian air missile striking, bombing and bombardment. Considers India the main partner in the global south. Ukraine considers India as a friend. Ukraine counts on India's
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Extraordinary scenes played out in Amritsar yesterday with new radical Amritpal Singh's followers from Waris-e Punjab organization running rampage, blocking highways, attacking Punjab police officers, breaking barricades and storming police stations in Ajlana. All of this with weapons in hand. All this because their aide Lviv Singh Tufan was booked and arrested by the police in a kidnapping case. The man, modelling himself as the new Khalistan savior, Amritpal, was caught on camera issuing threats to the police and ultimatums to release his aide. The problem is actually not this. The problem is the Punjab police capitulated in the face of a rogue who's openly threatening to break India. Despite memories of Khalistan violence and the aftermath of its bitter end being fresh in everyone's minds, it is astonishing how the state of Punjab is on its knees in front of another man fashioning himself after Bhindranwala. The police not only have not acted on anyone involved in yesterday's violence yet, they also gave in to Amritpal's demands and today Lovepreet was released. The bigger issue is, where is the state heading? Are we going back to the days of the 1980s Khalistan movement? How was this man Amritpal? How has he managed to become as strong as he looks today? Is the Punjab government and the police to blame? And is it time for the centre to intervene? We'll take those questions to our guests joining us in just a bit. First up, Amritpal is getting emboldened by the day. After threatening the state openly yesterday, he has come out with more threatening statements today. I'm just breaking down a few of them. He's gone on to say that there's a fake FIR lodged against him, that his aide was also tortured. Action against me is politically motivated. He's also warned against action against him. The cops lathi charged us first and my supporters only retaliated. This is the defense that is coming in, despite the fact that all of what happened yesterday played out in full public view. He's also once again made a statement on the Home Minister that he shouldn't suppress Court Khalistan, instead act against drug lords in Punjab. We will take our Punjab back is an ultimatum coming from him, and if you come in my way, there will be consequences. So this is another threat. In the past too, Amritpal has come into notice for very problematic statements, including a threat against the Home Minister of the country. For example, he claimed the main issue facing Punjab was slavery and India's colonial rule in the state. The dilution of Sikh values, encouraging Sikhs to cut their hair and shave their beards, is all part of a silent genocide, he says, in Punjab. He said the Sikh empire was lost to the British in 1849 and they're only asking to take that empire back. Interestingly, can I tell you, what people like him don't say is that the Sikh empire they talk about is mostly in present-day Pakistan, but Khalistan's never fight in Pakistan. He claimed the idea of Khalistan is not for a separate state. Then what is it that we wonder we are asking for? What does an autonomous state even mean? He says the point is that we were forcefully taken into the Indian nation by the British. There was no India before 1947. So that just gives you the idea of his mindset. There is no denying this man, Amritpal, who was effectively unknown 12 months ago, is modelling himself as the new Bhindranwala, the former militant leader of the Khalistan movement. Just take a look at how Amritpal, for example, looked while he lived in Dubai for 10 years. The first picture is that, before he returned to India only last year. In the middle is the picture of how he has fashioned himself now, and of course, on the other side is the picture of the Bhindranwala, who he has openly said is his inspiration. Clearly, he's aping his look to evoke the same sentiments. What Amritpal and his followers do is one thing. Why is the police so scared? Are they going to be able to maintain peace by appeasing these elements? It has never gone down well in history anywhere in the world. Amritpal is named in an FIR. He's not even been acted against so far. and today his aid was also released. How the police have changed their tune in just 2 weeks. This is what the FIR said against Lavpreet earlier, that he was charged for kidnapping, violence and rioting. Today, what the police has said, why he was released in their official memo, is that there is no evidence found against Lavpreet. Earlier, the FIR said that he was present on spot during the incident. Now, the police has changed its tune to say that the probe has revealed that he was not present at the time of offence. FIR earlier said that Lavpreet was also charged for criminal intimidation. Now, the police say he is not guilty of any offences. Have the police capitulated? The state's meek response is a matter of grave concern. Why was the police, for example, caught napping despite the fact that Amritpal gave open ultimatums and threat that he was going to do what happened yesterday? Why was the mob allowed to run riot even despite police presence and an ultimatum? How is it that these mobsters managed to beat policemen in public view? Why did the police give in to Amritpal's demands as his aid was released today? What does it really say? Another big question is, why did the Punjab Chief Minister's office till late last evening kept denying that Lavpreet was going to be released? There seems to be no coordination between what the police is saying and doing and the Chief Minister's office. He is also the Home Minister. And finally, what message does it send with Lavpreet's release today? All of those questions with our guests in just a bit. The larger question and the worry on everybody's mind, of course, is there once again a free run for Khalistan gang in Punjab? And is this something that's been building up for a while? What needs to be done? More on that in just a bit.
Only application is being moved to court for Lavdeep Singh because the evidence they gave us yesterday, Lavdeep was not present on the spot.
Home Minister shouldn't say like I will suppress Khalistan or Sikh movement. Home Minister should say I will suppress the drug dealers, drug lords. He will not say such things. So what I am demanding, let me work on this state. Let me work for my people. And if you will interrupt my way, there will be some consequences.
हाल की सरकार ने इस प्रकार का घटनाक्रम करने वालों के आगे घुटने टेके हैं, उससे ये लगता है कि पंजाब में कानून व्यवस्था पूरी तरह से फेल हो चुकी है।
ਪਿੱਛੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਸ਼ਕਤੀਆਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਢੰਗ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਸਾਡੀ ਟੇਕ ਵਿਕਾਸ ਤੇ ਹੈ।
Let's go across to the guests who are joining us. Jaybant Singh is Punjab BJP spokesperson. Sanjay Mishra is the Aam Aadmi Party supporter on the panel joining us. Aam Aadmi Party is not officially joining. Shashikant, former Punjab DGP, Lieutenant General KJ Singh, former General Officer Commander-in-Chief, Western Command is also with us. And Advocate Iman Singh Khara is the Secretary of the Legal Affairs of Waris Punjab Day, the organization that is today becoming the point of discussion in Punjab. I want to go across to Sanjay Mishra first up. Aam Aadmi Party is in power in Punjab, yet they are saying that there is some political conspiracy behind this. I just played out a snippet of what the Punjab representatives are saying. Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann has not been seen for 24 hours despite what is happening and playing out. There's not a single statement from him. They don't seem to be knowing what the police is saying and doing on the ground. What is going on in Punjab and why shouldn't we hold the present government in the dock?
हाँ, देखिए पंजाब में एक अच्छी गवर्नमेंट बनी है और पंजाब बनने के बाद ये पहली बार एक ईमानदार सरकार बनी है पंजाब के अंदर। पंजाब के अंदर पाकिस्तान में भी पंजाब है और पाकिस्तान भी भारत से ही अलग हुआ है पंजाब के अंदर। और एक के बाद एक मान सरकार वहाँ पे अटैक कर रहे हैं, चाहे वो करप्शन हो या वो नशे का काम हो, चाहे जिस तरह का भी जो करप्शन था पंजाब के अंदर, चाहे वो पॉलिटिकल पार्टियों के द्वारा किया जा रहा हो। और आप लोगों को बेहतर मालूम है, देश की जनता को बेहतर मालूम है कि किस तरह के काम आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार पंजाब में कर रही है। जिस तरह से अरविंद केजरीवाल की नीतियों में दिल्ली आगे बढ़ा, चाहे वो शिक्षा हो, स्वास्थ्य हो, ये जो काम होता हुआ देखकर भारतीय जनता पार्टी के बीच में एक खलबली है
तो
पूरे
वो
देश
करा
के
रहे हैं
अंदर। और
नहीं, करा कौन रहा है ये? आप सीधे सीधे बात
मैं सीधे सीधे आ रहा हूँ ना। एक बात मैं
अरे
बीजेपी से
एक सेकंड, ये ना आपकी सरकार के आने के बाद किसी के भी अंदर खलबली मची हो, वो बात अलग है।
मैं कंप्लीट
आप पावर में है, होम मिनिस्टर आपके चीफ मिनिस्टर है, उसके बावजूद ये सारे सीन्स आ रहे हैं, आप किसी और को ब्लेम मत कीजिए।
मैं सब चीजों का, आपके सारे सवालों का जवाब दूंगा, मैं अपनी बात रख लूं,
बोलिए।
आपका जवाब देता हूं। एक नाम है मेरे पास, 1980 के दौर में भिंडर वाले के साथ काम करने वाला लड़ाका, छात्र इकाई सिख स्टूडेंट फेडरेशन प्रमुख सरचंद सिंह, भाजपा बीजेपी में शामिल होने के तुरंत बाद ही, और लोगों की जो ज्वाइनिंग उसने कराई, जो भिंडर वाले के साथ 1980 के दशक में छात्र संघ का नेता था, भिंडर वाले के लिए काम कर रहा था, आज वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ है। तो फिर गृह मंत्री के ऊपर जो उसने धमकी दी, फिर गृह मंत्री क्या कर रहे हैं? फिर केंद्र सरकार क्या कर रही है?
एक सेकंड रुक जाइए, एक सेकंड।
केंद्र सरकार क्या कर रही है?
सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट में तो मैं बाद में आऊंगी, आप जंप मत कीजिए इश्यूज को। मुझे ये बताइए, आपको लगता है कि बीजेपी वाले इसमें मिले हुए हैं, अकाली दल वाले मिले हुए हैं, या कोई भी सिंपैथाइजर है ये खालिस्तानियों के? आपकी सरकार क्या कर रही है? पुलिस तो आपके अंडर आती है, या ना दे पुलिस आपको? यहाँ पे भी दिल्ली में तो आप चिल्लाते हैं आम आदमी पार्टी के लोग कि पुलिस हमारे अंडर नहीं है, वरना हम सही सब सही कर देंगे। अब पुलिस आपके अंडर है, आप कह रहे हैं सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट क्या कर रही है? मेकअप योर माइंड।
बिल्कुल माइंड मेकअप है। जिस तरह का काम कल, मैं तो कह रहा हूं अभी, ये जो घटना हुई है उसकी निंदा करता हूं। इस तरह से किसी भी
निंदा ना ऑपोजिशन में बैठ के अच्छी लगती है, जब आप सरकार में होते हो तो निंदा अच्छी नहीं लगती।
मैं जवाब दे रहा हूं,
नहीं कह रही, आप तो कह,
हाँ बिल्कुल मैं जवाब दे रहा हूं, लेकिन आम आदमी पार्टी की तरफ से मैं जवाब दे रहा हूं।
रिस्पांसिबिलिटी से सिर्फ ये कह के नहीं शर्क कर सकती कि भैया 1980s में क्या हुआ था, तो आप सीखिए हिस्ट्री से। 1980s
क्या हुआ था मैंने नहीं कहा। 1980 के दशक में भिंडर वाले के साथ काम करने वाला व्यक्ति आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी का नेता है पंजाब में।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी बाय योर ओन एडमिशन इज एब्सोल्युटली नॉट in any decision making power. On top of that, you claim they have no presence in Punjab.
मेरा कंसर्न क्या है
बताइए।
कंसर्न ये है कि वह व्यक्ति गृह मंत्री के ऊपर, हमारे देश के गृह मंत्री के ऊपर, मुझे चिंता इस बात की हो रही है कि जो देश के गृह मंत्री को धमकी दे रहा है, उस पंजाब
की पुलिस को भी धमकी दे रहा है। पंजाब के पुलिस के ऑफिसर्स पे लाठी चल रही है, गोलियां चला रहे हैं, तलवार लेके आ रहे हैं, उसकी चिंता नहीं है आपको?
जब तो मैं कह रहा हूं केंद्र सरकार चुप क्यों?
होम मिनिस्टर पे तो कोई भी धमकी दे सकता है, करने वाला कोई नहीं है, लेकिन मैं जो हुआ है उसके बारे में बात कीजिए ना। ये मजाक बना रखा है लोगों ने।
हाँ बिल्कुल, मैं तो कह रहा हूं कि ये बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए था, लेकिन उसके ऊपर कानून है और कानून काम कर रहा है।
कानून क्या कर रहा है? पुलिस क्या कर रही है? मैं पुलिस चीफ की बाइट चलाऊंगी, उन्होंने क्या बोल के अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी शर्क करी है कि किस वजह से उन्होंने कुछ नहीं किया। चलिए, मेरे पास फॉर्मर डीजीपी हैं पंजाब के, वो बताएंगे कि क्या वो सही रिस्पॉन्स है या नहीं। जयबंत सिंह, प्लीज रिस्पॉन्ड। व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन पंजाब? इट सीम्स नोबडी इज इन कंट्रोल.
Thank you very much. I think we have wasted, my friend Mishra ji has wasted very precious time of this debate with his non-entities that he has talked over here and innate comments that he has made which are worth nothing. I will come to the point directly. What has happened over there is condemnable, but to ensure that something like this does not happen in the state is entirely the responsibility of the local government. The government has not asked us, the center, to intervene in any of the problems that are over there as far as law and order is concerned. There is a problem of the Qawmi Insaf Morcha. There is this problem. If we take even the slightest of step, the government is going to say that we are interfering over there. The situation over there is very, very critical. It is very sensitive. It is a border state, and a time might come when we will have to interfere. But till such time that the government does not make its mind as to what it wants, I don't think we are going to do anything which is constitutionally not correct.
No, is it unfair, Mr. Benz? Is it unfair for me to ask where is the chief minister? Is it unfair to ask?
Yeah, it is very fair for you to ask. Not only where is the chief minister, it is very fair to ask where are their leaders? How has this happened? Where was their quick reaction team? Where was their armed police? Did they not know this is going to happen? Then why have they filed the FIR? If the FIR was not correct, then why did they file it in the first case?
No.
Having filed the FIR, why have they removed
I can agree if your investigation now has suddenly found out that Lovepreet had no role to play. He wasn't even there. Imagine the message it sends to these people. You have done this a day after this ruckus created by them.
You are asking me?
Yes, go ahead. Finish your point, then I'll go across to others.
You see, all these are pointers towards the immaturity and the inefficiency of this government, and it is causing a problem which might escalate into something very big in the future if it is not stopped at the moment. There is no sympathy for Khalistan in Punjab, but the inefficiency of this government is creating the sympathy. What has happened over there has been not liked by the people of Punjab. It is against Punjabiyat. It is against our gurus. It is against the tenets of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Yet they are allowing it to happen.
Well, I would say so many people collecting also doesn't mean that there is no sympathy. There clearly is, for whatever reason it is there. Do we need some sort of program to talk to these people who are following people like Amritpal? That's a separate issue. But I don't think these people can just turn up if they were not sympathetic. Let's not give clean chits to anybody.
No. See, ma'am, it is like this, that the number of people who are supporting this are fringe elements. The rest of them just join up with them. Unfortunately, there is a very big majority who does not like all these things.
And that I agree with that point. I agree with that point.
Very big majority is silent. And it is historically proven that the Nazis also, the people who shriek more, come into the news more. And this person, Amritpal, has been tutored by experts. He is a ISI clone. He knows what he's talking about. He has been tutored over there for years.
Why are we tolerating him? But before I go across to that question,
KJ Singh will,
exactly.
will support my point on this.
I'll go to General KJ Singh just a bit, but Advocate Iman Singh represents the Waris Punjab Day, Legal Affairs. So he's a representative of Amritpal. I don't understand what kind of threats Amritpal is giving. Exactly who does he think he is?
Bhai Amritpal Singh is a devout Sikh of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, and as Bhai Amritpal Singh Ji has already stated that he draws his inspiration, his motivation from Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Khalsa Bhindranwale, and post independence after 1947 there is not even a single Sikh who can come equal to the stature of Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Khalsa Bhindranwale. Regarding the person who's representing Bhajpa, BJP, I want to say that your ideology of BJP, you BJP people are just fringe elements in here in Punjab. The movement, the Sikh movement, the movement of Khalsa Raj, the movement of Khalistan, it's the Khalistan, Khalsa Raj is the basic tenet of Sikhi. And you can't, and by speaking against it, you are just going against the pious principle of the Sikh Gurus of establishment of a Khalsa Raj of Khalistan. So I want to say that
1 second.
What all has happened on that particular day,
हाँ बताइए what all has happened on that day. Come to what happened yesterday. आप अपने आप को pious बता रहे हैं, धर्म के पीछे छुप रहे हैं आप. मुझे ये बताइए ये कहाँ तक justified है जो कल हुआ है. आपकी जो भी आपकी कामनाएं हो वो एक जगह है. क्या इस तरीके से आप behave करेंगे?
Ma'am, I just want to say
that
see,
on 19th why did they take the Guru Granth Sahib Prakash over there? What was the reason to take the Prakash of Guru Granth Sahib over there? Don't they know that a police station is not the kind of place where we can have Prakash of Guru Granth Sahib? Don't they know that they are supposed to be a non-violent movement? They have got no answers.
Let me speak.
They have got no answers. They just want to,
let me speak. I will satisfy you, sir. I will satisfy you. Let me speak. Don't create a ruckus. Let me speak. See, first of all, coming to the question of the anchor, I want to say that on 19th of February, Bhai Amritpal Singh stated from the stage, from the Barsi Smagam of Shahid Bhai Deep Singh Sidhu, that if the police doesn't resolve this case, this false and fabricated case which has been planted over 25 persons of Waris Punjab the Jathebandi, then they will lead a peaceful procession in the form of Khalsa Vahir in front of the police station. Then what the administration did, on the asking of the central government agencies, they placed barricades. The Sikhs from Malwa and Doaba were stopped from going to Amritsar, Shri Amritsar Sahib. And then police threw tear gas bombshells and then lathi charge on the peaceful Sikhs who were going. There wasn't any aim or objective to enter into the police station. But when the police procession started committing violence over the crowd, then
it's very easy to do this, that we didn't start this, we didn't do this. I am sorry to say the visuals speak for themselves. And I think the intentions of what you were trying to do, the kinds of threats and ultimatums that your leader has given, they are also very clear. You are also justifying them, trying to justify them. And I have brought this Varis de Punjab representative on the show, 1 second, just so that I don't have to say anything of what they stand for. They're saying clearly what they stand for. I don't want any, any gaps in what they stand for and what I am communicating. Let the public hear for themselves. And the other big question then is, why is this being tolerated? The issue of the police response has come in. I want to quickly play out what the top cop in Punjab has said today, and then Shashikant ji and Lieutenant General KJ Singh, I'm coming to you.
The demonstration was permitted when under the cover of the Palki Sahib of Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the police was attacked in a very cowardly manner with sharp-edged weapons, and stones and bricks, brickbatting also took place. 6 police officials were injured. So I want to state that the police acted with utmost restraint due to the maryada of Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji and preserved it. And police could have opened fire, it could have led to more issues. So we have acted with restraint on account of the presence of Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji.
Shashikant ji, do you believe that the police acted rightfully with restraint, quote unquote, as the DGP is saying, or were they also guilty of being caught napping, or at least underprepared and not really in control of the situation? Because I understand what the top cop is saying about the respect to the Granth and everything, but that cannot be used to beat police officers in the country.
Look, I'll start from the very beginning. The gentleman who was there was saying that central government is not doing anything. I think probably he's right. By this time, central government should have promulgated the president's rule in Punjab. If the state government can't do it, okay, let it be the president's rule and let the government of India. That's probably he wanted or he meant by saying that the central government is not taking any action. Number one. Number two, I don't know what this gentleman, young gentleman, this lawyer was saying. I can't understand. I couldn't really understand that. But yes, whatever Gaurav Yadav said makes a point. This could have led to massive problem because the Surup of Guru Granth Sahib was there. So, but again, having said that, police was caught napping. I fully agree they should have gone in for barricades, normal exercise. They should have gone for preventive arrests, normal exercise. And coming back to the point where this problem really started, if that person, whatever the name is, Varinder Singh or whatever the name was there, that he was sort of mishandled and all those things by the crowd belonging to Amritpal, the process is the first lodge the DD diary, daily diary report, going for investigation. It appears that without any investigations, in a rush, they sort of threw the entire IPC at this particular person that
are you talking about Lovepreet?
And then because of the unknown reasons, which I'm not able to understand, I can't fathom why all of a sudden there was 180 degrees, they went back by 180 degrees, that the guy was not there at all. To that extent, I'll say it was a sheer carelessness of the police, whatever reasons they could have been, political pressure, ignorance, etc., etc. It was a failure of the police. It was a bigger failure of the state administration. And rest assured, there's nothing like Khalistan, whatever my young friend who was there, the lawyer, is saying. Khalistan cannot be there. People of Punjab don't want Khalistan. Simple as that. We have seen what happened. We have suffered. This young man who's talking, I don't think he was there and he suffered. Maybe he saw one of his family was there. But that's where I'll come to an end. Yes, no, but it is a gross failure of the state government. Yes, thank you.
All right. Lieutenant General KJ Singh, Shashikant believes the central government should have already intervened. What is your take on this? Because everybody who knows what happened in Punjab in 1980s believes that if we don't act now, if we don't, repeat the mistakes of what we did last time, this could become the next 1980. So, do you believe we need to step in now? The central government needs to step in now.
Shivani, firstly, Jai Hind, thank you for having me on your show. I feel very disgusted and distressed because I, as a major, fought terrorism in Punjab. And I can vouch, people of Punjab defeated terrorism. I compliment them, I congratulate them. Yes. And I have been threatened. I was threatened when I said that people of Punjab defeated terrorism. And once again, I must tell you, people of Punjab don't want this unwanted kind of a situation which is being created.
Yes.
India is moving in Amrit Kal towards progress, and we in Punjab have seemed to be lapsing back into this
but sir,
horrible kind of
why is this happening again and again? And why is the state so...
And Shivani,
no, sir, why does this keep rearing its ugly head? If people don't believe in it, people don't want it, how do these so-called Khalistani icons keep coming up, and they have so much bravado? So much bravado to cock a snook in the face of the state.
Shivani, it is ISI, it is K2 gang which is funding and fueling them. It is time that central agencies take out a white paper on this man, because I just can't believe that in short period of 2 odd years, he can rise to such a meteoric kind of a fame. And also I must condemn one thing, that, you know, Punjab police is a very potent, very good police force. I have worked with them for many years. Allow them, don't politicize them, give them the chance. They know how to deal with everything. It is sad that they are not invoking correct procedures. They could have applied section 144. They could have denied permission to this procession. It is time that Ajnala is put under section 144 and tempers are cooled down over there. And we should
that may be a good short-term measure, but sir, I want to understand from you, from your vast experience, how do we deal with this larger problem? What do we do with these people coming up and acting like using sentiment and religion to take people, bring them with them, and then basically bring in anarchy?
See, Colonel Jabans is right that silent majority is not with them. And lumpen element is always shouting the loudest. So once there is a sense of security, there is a sense of stability, the silent majority will speak up. They will get up. You are right. We need to take this action. And it is time that centre sits down with state. They work out a joint strategy, because situation cannot be allowed to go any far from anything forward from here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a turning point already, and this is warning signs, red flags. Sanjay Mishra, I'm coming back to you. You know, the Aam Aadmi Party government also needs to shed its confrontational attitude with the centre, because you cannot alone also tackle this tomorrow. But you are very much in government and you will very much be held responsible. आप हर चीज का बखेड़ा सेंटर के पास नहीं फोड़ सकते।
नहीं फोड़ सकते। और शशिकांत जी हमारे उन्होंने कुछ बात रखी कि केंद्र कुछ नहीं कर रहा और ऐसे बहानाबाजी। देखिए, केंद्र कर रहा है, कौन बोल रहा है केंद्र सरकार नहीं कर रहा है? बिल्कुल कर रहा है केंद्र सरकार। मैं आग्रह करता हूं केंद्र सरकार जो कर रहा है उसे सकारात्मक करे, पॉजिटिव करे, नेगेटिव ना करे।
क्या नेगेटिव करे?
और जो नेगेटिव सोच के साथ जो काम हो रहा है,
बताइए क्या कर रही है सेंट्रल सरकार?
मैं वही तो बता रहा हूँ,
बताइए।
आप बात तो रखने दीजिए। पंजाब के अंदर मेरे 2 सवाल है मुख्य रूप से। पंजाब की गवर्नमेंट जिम्मेदार है। मैं सबसे पहले कल जो पंजाब में हुआ उसके लिए पंजाब की पुलिस को मैं ये बोलता हूं कि जिस तरह से उन्होंने बुद्धि से काम लिया है कि एक भी हताहत नहीं हुई, कोई भी गोली नहीं चली, पुलिस ने कोई फायरिंग नहीं की और उन्होंने बड़े आराम से उसको टैकल किया उस मुद्दे को, मैं उसके लिए धन्यवाद बोलता हूं। ठीक है, जो गलत है उसको कानूनी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। यदि किसी तरह का भी कोई भी एलिगेशंस किसी व्यक्ति के ऊपर लगता है उसे बिल्कुल बचना नहीं चाहिए।
नहीं, आप बात को घूमे नहीं, मैं आपसे बोल रही हूँ कि आप कह रहे थे सेंट्रल सरकार क्या कर रही है। मुझे ये बताइए, अब कल को सेंट्रल सरकार इसमें दखल देती है तो आम आदमी पार्टी ये तो नहीं बोलेगी कि ये इसलिए कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हमारी सरकार निकालना चाहते हैं यहाँ से, यही बोलेगी ना, या नहीं बोलेगी?
मैं बता रहा हूँ क्या हुआ। 2 घटना है, इसे जोड़ देता हूँ मैं आपको। मेरे को कोई रखने की जरूरत नहीं। कोई पवन खेड़ा कोई कांग्रेस का कोई लीडर है, हाँ। उसने दिल्ली में कोई स्टेटमेंट दिया, हाँ। छत्तीसगढ़, उत्तर प्रदेश और किन किन राज्यों में एफआईआर करके छत्तीसगढ़ की
मुझे इन सब चीजों में नहीं फंसना। नहीं, आप
मैं फंसाना भी नहीं चाह रहा हूं। आप जो केंद्र सरकार की इंटरफेरेंस की बात
यूज कीजिए, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, आई हैव लिमिटेड टाइम, यू हैव लिमिटेड टाइम टू मेक योर पॉइंट।
पंजाब के लिए पंजाब की गवर्नमेंट, सिर्फ आप पंजाब में बात करनी है, पंजाब की गवर्नमेंट बिल्कुल पोजीशन पे सही तरीके से कानूनी लीगल पोजीशन पे काम कर रही है। और जिस तरह से पंजाब सरकार काम कर रही है, मैं तो कहता हूं मान साहब को कि सावधान रहिए, आपके साथ और भी षड्यंत्र किए जाएंगे। अच्छा। और ये विपक्ष के षड्यंत्र से और आपको निपटने के लिए अपने पूरे जितने भी
आपके पुलिस इन योर हैंड्स, नो यू कांट टॉक ऑफ षड्यंत्र, इट साउंड्स वीक।
यस, बिल्कुल।
This is the problem. It works in Delhi for the Aam Aadmi Party. It's not going to work in Punjab. If you don't wake up and smell the coffee in a border state, people are not going to forgive you. Let me tell you.
Punjab safe hai मान साहब के हाथ में.
Shashikant ji wanted to come in very quickly, sir. 30 seconds.
Yeah, just less than 10 seconds. मान गवर्नमेंट पंजाब सरकार को ये भी देखना पड़ेगा कि जो घटनाएं हो रही है, मैं हिंदी में बोल रहा हूं संजय जी के लिए, उससे सावधान हो जाए, क्योंकि पुलिस का मनोबल इन चीजों से गिरा है और एक बार अगर पुलिस का मनोबल गिर गया तो आप सिचुएशन नहीं संभाल पाएंगे. थैंक यू.
Okay, Jaybans Singh ji, final 10-20 seconds for you too.
Okay, 20 seconds is more than enough. Mostly, Shivani, what happens is when there is a sensitive debate like this, Aam Aadmi Party does not send any spokesperson. Now, Mishra ji has come, but he has spoken all inanities, and we are not going by any means enlightened by what these people are going to do. And my last question to Advocate Saab is that why have you created such a mayhem for a single individual? Are you fighting for the ego of Amritpal, or are you fighting a battle of concepts? Why, for the sake of a single individual who could have been dealt by the law and order and by the courts, have you created this kind of a ruckus? Does this stand with the principles of the Khalsa Panth? He should answer this to the people of Punjab.
Very quickly, Imanji.
See, this procession was against the oppression and repression of the central government and the state government. This oppression of the Sikhs, which these both governments are carrying out against the Sikhs. Earlier, the Sikhs used to remain quiet, but now it was just a symbolic act that now if the governments are going to repress the Sikhs, the Khalsa Panth, then in consonance with the principles and tenets of Sikhi, we are not going to tolerate this. Okay. This was a single. It wasn't a fight for an individual.
Can I just say,
or for the
there are
ego
two
of
things
Amritpal
that have
Singh.
happened in this country that are becoming very plain to see. One is you use victimhood card to perpetrate anarchy and lawlessness and crimes, and everybody has now begun to believe you can get away with it by using victimhood cards. The second is that because Indian polices, state polices, don't give it back and don't act and always act with restraint, you've got people protest after protest, protest after protest on any issue. They come out and they act like they are untouchables. This is what has happened. I leave it for our viewers to decide whether this is the way we need to go forward. I thank all of our guests for joining us. Moving on, today Ukraine marks the grim milestone of 1 year of the ongoing Russia invasion. On February 24, 2022, the Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a military operation. No one had predicted a long-drawn war. Ukraine was expected to be run over. That hasn't happened, as its people mounted a commendable resistance. This is the first war in the heart of Europe after World War II. Within a few weeks of the conflict, neighboring countries, the European Union, had to open up their borders for hundreds of thousands of people fleeing the violence. Western nations have imposed widespread sanctions on Moscow, including stopping transactions with Russia's central bank, banning new investment and freezing the assets of Russian political and business leaders. Russia was forced to scale back its war goals following stiff resistance from Ukrainian forces, and it eventually switched focus to the Donbass region, where Moscow-backed separatists launched a rebellion in 2014. The conflict, remember, escalated the global food crisis over the past 1 year, as Ukraine's government announced a ban on a wide range of agricultural exports, causing world food prices to reach a record high in March. But the human loss of this war has been catastrophic. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on countries to help him set up a fund to rebuild his nation. Let's take a look at the cost of this war. How has it affected both Russia and Ukraine? For example, Ukraine's GDP is now down by 30% since last quarter, while Russia's GDP is expected to shrink by $190 billion by 2026. Ukraine's budget deficit stands at 27%, Russia's at just 2% of the GDP, despite towering spending and slumping energy revenues. It is set to slump further unless prices for Russian oil recover. The damage caused to Ukraine's physical housing facilities has been estimated to cost over $137 billion, while Russia has spent over $82 billion on this invasion. As of today, the cost to replace Ukraine's damaged infrastructure and economy will cost $350 billion, estimated by the World Bank. While Western sanctions and restrictions have blocked Russia's foreign reserves worth $300 billion. The ongoing conflict has been brutal, shows no signs of stopping anytime soon, which is the biggest worry. As of this week, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has recorded around 21,293 civilian casualties in Ukraine, with over 13,000 injuries. Over 180,000 Russian soldiers have lost their lives, over 1 lakh soldiers from the Ukrainian side as well, which makes the total lives lost on the battlefield to 280,000. As a result of the war, nearly 1/3 of the population of Ukraine remains forcibly displaced, making it one of the largest displacements crises in the world. According to the UNHRC, for refugees, between 10 to 13 million Ukrainians have been displaced internally and across the borders. Let's take a look though of what this war has achieved for Russia, for example. This is how Ukraine looked before and now. The map on the left is of Ukraine before the invasion. The right one shows the Ukrainian territories taken by Russia along with areas which were later reclaimed by Ukraine. Heavy fighting still continues in Crimea, in Bakhmut, along with other areas near the Donbas region. What has Russia really achieved after 1 year of this conflict, and where is this conflict really heading for both sides? That's the big debate that's coming up with our special guest joining us. Fred Beer is a journalist and expert on Russian affairs. I'm also joined by Dr. Lada L. Rozlicki, security analyst, joining us from Ukraine. I'd want to go across to Dr. Lada first up. It's been 1 year. It's created absolute havoc in the life of Ukrainians. Where do you see this conflict heading? Because the biggest worry in the minds of everyone around the world is that there seems to be no end in sight.
Well, it's heading to a very important crescendo where either the civilized world and their citizens stand up against the evil that the Kremlin is spreading, together with its international global corrupt network, and we face a potential life on planet Earth led by kleptocratic maniacs, or we cooperate and really give effect to the institutions that have been created after the Second World War. We operate with dignity in accordance with a vision of a future that will prevent genocide and really address things what they are in the future before such atrocities can happen again. Because what is happening and continues to happen in Ukraine every single day is simply atrocious and unthinkable.
Yeah. I do want to ask you though, before I go across to our Russian guest, is, you know, the world, especially some of the Western powers, are very ably supporting your fight back, and Ukrainian forces have held very strongly. I just want to get a sense from you, given if you take it that Russia is not going to stop, how long do you think your forces can maintain a wall?
But if we're just talking about a military aid perspective, it is important to recognize that the Rammstein group consists of over 42 countries. So it's not just the United States, as the Russians like to put forth, because they're pushing to say that this is a war between Russia and America. Well, hello, what does Ukraine have to do in that, should that narrative be true? Now, to answer your question, how much time? Russia is using their men as fodder on the front line. So there is a very serious problem with artillery, munitions on both sides. That having been said, the Ukrainians do not have men to throw as cannon fodder on the front lines the way that Russia does. And that it poses a very, very serious problem as to what type of technology can be used in order to prevent this high level of barbaric killing of innocent men who don't know each other for in the name of greed and this empire building that Putin is so fixated on.
Okay. Fred, where I want to bring you in, if we look at the noises coming in from Vladimir Putin and Russia, there seems to be no abating in what they believe is their reason and their purpose of this conflict. Why is that so? Because Russia was not possibly imagining that they would be mired in this conflict for a year, and there is still no end in sight.
First of all, I'm not Russian. I'm a foreign correspondent based in Russia. But I have been here for more than 3 decades, and I've been following everything for all that time. So this war is of course, a serious departure. It was probably predictable back in 1991 when the Soviet Union broke up. Those kinds of transitions seldom historically happen peacefully. And this is, in many ways, a post-imperial conflict. And it has been turned into a kind of global struggle between the forces of democracy and the forces of autocracy. And this obscures what might have been possibilities for having prevented it in the first place or having resolved it earlier. But we're now truly into it. And Putin's argument to the Russian people the other day was it's become an existential struggle for Russia, not against Ukraine, but against the United West. And I'm sorry to report that majorities of Russians seem to sort of accept that, not with great enthusiasm, but also not with fear. You know, this is a motivational thing. And what I see is Russian society consolidating, the Russian economy mobilizing, going onto a war footing. I really fear that this war can go on unless, as your other guest said, the international community steps in and seriously promotes negotiated settlement of some sort.
But those are not forthcoming, isn't it? We've seen more and more very confrontational statements coming in from world leaders. I know some are trying to bring all sides onto the table, but it's almost like there's no hope of that anymore.
It doesn't look very hopeful. You're absolutely right about that. It looks terrible. From both Moscow and Kiev, we hear like absolutely uncompromising rhetoric. And I do think, I mean, realistically, I do think there are momentous events going to happen on the battlefield. That's where the preconditions for peace, sad to say, are going to be established. But we do have some movement from China, for example. They're putting forward a plan. If other countries can get behind that plan, certainly the Chinese have a good deal of leverage in Moscow, and this is possible. We have to keep on hoping, because what's happening down there is a horror.
Absolutely.
It's a daily monstrous, it just, I wake up every morning in dread and go to sleep every evening fearing for what tomorrow will bring. So let's hope for peace.
Yeah. Dr. Rosliki, I want to ask you, since you mentioned this, that, Russia obviously believes very firmly that Ukraine is just a tool for US to fight its war with Russia. And this is effectively a US-Russia war. Since you mentioned that, I do want to ask you, this is something that is said about the start of the war and has been said consistently for 1 year, that US almost pushed Ukraine towards this fight. It used Ukraine for its own agenda versus Russia. Do you believe there is any kind of thinking amongst Ukrainians that this could have been avoidable?
Yes, absolutely. It could have been avoidable had the West taken the proper stance in the war in Chechnya that started in the 90s. I agree with your guest that this is something that is crawling, and the Russian strategic separatism that we see being supported in the Black Sea region in countries that want to be democracies, Georgia, for instance, and Moldova. Then we have that Nagorno-Karabakh conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. These are all territories that Russia is spending significant money on in order to continue developing or recreating its empire. So it's not so much a geopolitical fight as it is a civilizational. It is the type of societies in which we want to live in. And of course, the Western states, we have no illusion that it's perfect there, but the rule of law does tend to work, and the justice systems there do tend to work much better than the justice system that is so known to the Kremlin, which is basically a control bullet in the head if you do something that the dictator says is wrong.
Okay, I have to leave it at that. Unfortunately, nobody really seems to know where this conflict is heading, when it could end, if peace is around the corner. But I do thank both of our guests for joining us, and we do wish the Ukrainians support and all the best as far as this fight back is concerned. On that note, let me also play out some ground reports from Ukraine. My colleague Sanjay Suri has been bringing us some pictures of the reality of the war-torn country.
It's been a year since the destruction began, and no one is forgetting. There's just too much of it still around, and at any time there can be more. Here and there, some people are repairing and rebuilding as they can, with some help if they are lucky. But on scale, this is really like trying to stick a shred of Band-Aid over multiple wounds. Most homes hit a year back and since have stayed hit. Those who survived have not returned. There is nothing to come back to, no money to build these burnt-out shells of what was home. This was the home of a famous Ukrainian boxer killed in the missile attack here. Unlikely as it now seems, these housing blocks just outside Kiev were the scene of a fierce battle between Ukrainians and Russian paratroopers who landed here.
Russians occupied all of these buildings, and they were shooting on our soldiers from these buildings, from the top of the buildings. Russia has stationed their tanks around the buildings.
The neighborhood presents a happy spin now over parachutes. Around the blocks, some repair has been carried out, but patchily. A rocket landed in the playground. Children now simply play around the crater. This is the campus of the Taras Shevchenko University, the biggest university in Ukraine. This is not what a campus should look like. You'd expect students buzzing about the place. This is a working day through term time. But this campus has been hit by missiles, hit by absence. A lot of the teaching and the studying is now online. Certainly, no one needs to teach the students what war can mean. It has meant missile attacks on campus, one after the other, at a university once a magnet to students from around the world. Windows are boarded up, the campus deserted, the corridors look ghostly, the classrooms are empty, the notice board in the common room outdated, its chairs stacked away.
Time for a very short break. On the other side, US President Joe Biden nominates Indian origin Ajay Banga for World Bank chief post. We get you more about the man in just a bit.
Didn't control the ground. We were entering a country at war, heading to a capital at war, a country that has been subject to routine and repeated bombardments by the Russians, and without any of the normal security capacity that would usually accompany a president. So we were heading into the unknown because this was unprecedented. The president was up much of the night, not so much worried about his safety as he was worried about making sure that he was going to maximize his time on the ground in Kyiv, that he was going to have the kind of conversations face-to-face with President Zelensky that would allow us to move forward in our support, and most importantly, that he could stand up and say to the world from right there in Kyiv, as you just heard Clarissa say, that a year ago, people were bracing for the fall of Kyiv, and a year later, Kyiv stands, Ukraine stands, and America stands with Kyiv, and there was no more powerful way to send that message than to have the American president go do that. So it was a mixture of deep anxiety, but also a kind of building pride about serving a president and being part of a country that is trying to support Ukraine in its hour of need.
How do you see this last 1 year of war, which is, I'm sure like a lot of people have seen its impact on economy, strategic, defense, and all sort of sectors across the world?
Right, you are. It's an unprovoked war, aggression against Ukraine. It was started by Russia, and now we see, unfortunately, that it's dragging on with loss of thousands of lives, devastating consequences for the whole world. It's unbelievable that in this era of peace that we are facing with a war that is so devastating for all of us across the world. That's really unbelievable. I mean, it has a direct impact on all of us, you and people living in Africa and Latin America and Asia. Everybody is impacted by this war. And I think the best solution is that Russia withdraws and then the war is over. So as long as this war is going on continuing, then you will have so many devastating consequences, impacts for all of us, and it's unbelievable. So there's only one solution to it. Get back to your borders, Russia.
We would like to know this whole 1 year, how has it been for overall for Europe in terms of its geopolitics, in terms of economic impact that it has had over other countries?
Yes, thank you. As you say, we are soon going to mark a very sad anniversary, which is 1 year of this unjustified and illegal aggression from Russia against its peaceful neighbor, Ukraine. This is a major violation of international law. It's a violation of the UN Charter, and it cannot go scot-free. Otherwise, the risk is that we would see a similar pattern of behavior repeated elsewhere, including in other regions. So what we have been trying to do as European Union and beyond, with our allies within NATO, with other partners such as Japan or Australia, is to isolate the Russian leadership and to put in place sanctions, which make the leadership accountable for its actions. So we are about to approve a 10th package of sanctions. The sanctions are very broad, unprecedented, I would say, in terms of the latitude of the sectors affected.
If you could talk from the perspective of Poland, how this war has changed situation on ground for Poland, its people, its economy.
So 1 year ago, Russia invaded Ukraine. It was unprovoked and unjustified aggression against an independent country. Russia broke the international conventions, international law, and from the day one, Poland and other countries of European Union condemned this aggression with the strongest possible terms. And we have been helping Ukraine from the day one. We have a few millions refugees from Ukraine. We also send them humanitarian aid and also military help of weapons and ammunition. And we help them together with our allies to fight this Russian aggression.
How do you see this 1 year of war? I'm sure it has done a lot of damage to Ukrainian people, economy, everything. And what is the situation right now, if you could tell us?
Definitely, we are living now in a very difficult time of war. All world may be aware that war is still going on, and we, as of now, we do not see the end. It is difficult to understand when during the 21st century, when the all civilized world and society living their life peacefully according to the international law and following to the UN chapters. We have such kind of terrible disaster. We are getting, Ukrainian cities are getting quite a lot of damages because of every day Russian air missiles striking, bombing and bombardment. Considers India the main partner in the global south. Ukraine considers India a friend. Ukraine counts on India's support. We hope so that India will support Ukraine in the endeavor to win and to realize the principle of freedom and democracy.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine completes the grim milestone of 1 year today. In the last 1 year, the war was claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, has displaced over 10 million people, has ravaged cities and has damaged Ukraine's economy. As the conflict continues to rage on it, no end in sight, the Russian president remains unbending in his goal to denazify Ukraine. I beg your pardon, and diplomatic solution seems as implausible as ever. It has come down to Biden and Putin, who are rallying support from across the globe. Sending a powerful message yesterday, Zelensky stated that Ukraine will prevail. Now let's take a look at CNN's town hall, which is focusing on 1 year of Russia-Ukraine war.
On to some good news for India. US President Joe Biden has nominated former MasterCard CEO Ajay Banga to be the next president of the World Bank. The announcement comes as the current chief, David Malpass, has announced plans to step down early to pursue new challenges nearly a year before his five-year term ends. And the nomination is also surprising as the World Bank chief is typically American, while the head of the International Monetary Fund, for example, is customarily European. If Banga is confirmed by the World Bank Board of Directors, he would be the first ever Indian origin head of either of the two top international financial institutions, the IMF and the World Bank. Ajay Banga is currently the vice chairman at General Atlantic. Previously, he was the president and CEO of MasterCard, leading the company through a strategic, technological and cultural transformation. He has been awarded the Padma Shri by the Indian government in 2016. He's born in Pune. Banga is an economics graduate from Delhi's St. Stephen's and earned his MBA degree from IIM Ahmedabad. Banga started his career with Nestle, then moved on to PepsiCo after 13 years. In 1996, Banga joined Citigroup and worked at its India and Malaysia offices. He served as the CEO of the company's Asia Pacific region. That's just a brief bio of Ajay Banga. Typically, the US picks the World Bank's leader by virtue of being the largest stakeholder in the international financial institution. In its 77-year history, America has always chosen the leader and the bank's board appoints the candidate. This year, Joe Biden announced this nomination, stating that Mr. Banga is uniquely equipped to lead the global institution at this critical moment in history. Political leaders and industry captains have hailed Banga's nomination, saying he is an inspired choice and a phenomenal addition to the list of Indian origin leaders at the helm of globally impactful organizations.
As the president said himself, Ajay is uniquely equipped to lead the World Bank at this critical moment in history. He is a renowned business executive that has spent more than 3 decades building and managing successful global companies that have created jobs and brought investment to developing economies. As president and the CEO of MasterCard and as vice chairman of General Atlantic, Ajay has a proven track record creating public-private partnerships and mobilizing resources to address climate change. And raised in India, he has a unique perspective on the opportunities and challenges facing developing countries and how the World Bank can deliver on its ambitious agenda to reduce poverty and expand prosperity.
Now, this is how a World Bank chief is selected. The World Bank invites nominees from its members or executive directors. Currently, nominations can be made up till March 29, 2023. Post the nomination period, the World Bank board publishes a list of up to 3 shortlisted candidates Interviews of these candidates are then conducted and the final selection will be made by early May 2023. Now, Banga's selection seems like a formality given he's received American president's backing. And Banga could join an ever-growing list of Indian origin chiefs of global companies. Look at this list of only a few CEOs running some of the top global corporations. So YouTube, Neil Mohan, the recent one to join this list. Of course, Sundar Pichai at Google, Satya Nadella at Microsoft are all very popular names in India. Arvind Krishna at the head of IBM, Shantanu Narayan as the head of Adobe, Starbucks led by Lakshman Narasimhan, FedEx by Raj Subramaniam. This is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination and one that could see the entry of Ajay Banga very, very soon. On that note, I take your leave. Thanks a lot for watching Plain Speak and I'll see you again next week.
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. A day after a mob led by self-styled Sikh preacher Amritpal Singh targeted the Punjab police in Ajnala in Amritsar, his aide Lovepreet Singh was released from Amritsar jail. This comes after Amritpal Singh warned the Punjab government to quash the cases against him and his aide or suffer the consequences. Now, as per the February 16th FIR against Lovepreet Singh, he was booked for kidnapping, rioting,